I know what you're thinking, I'm 2 years too late with this, but hear me out.
2 years ago, many people shared their top 10 games of the decade to celebrate the end of that decade. Back then, I really wanted to make my own version, but I wasn't able to do it as I was lacking equipment to make decent videos with. So I thought, hey, let's do it now. Better late than never, right? I considered choosing only one game per year, but in the end I decided against that as the list I currently have has a very nice variety already when it comes to the years these games were released in. In fact, I'm pretty sure all of the games present in my top 10 are representing every single year of the past decade anyway, by pure coincidence. And to clarify, the last decade at the moment of making this video is the year 2010 until 2019.
But before we begin this top 10, here are some rules first. No remakes, remasters or ports, only games that were actually brand new last decade. And last but not least, no Zelda games. I already talked about Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds and Breath of the Wild very recently during my last Zelda month, and I have nothing new to say about those games anyway. And we all know that if I were to include them in this list, they will be dominating this top 10, and that will make for a very boring list. With that said, I'm DylanBandicoot, and let's start this video.
In 2010, a brand new Kingdom Hearts game was released for the PSP, Birth by Sleep. The cool thing about this game is that it takes place 10 years before the events of the first Kingdom Hearts game. But what's even cooler is that this game has 3 different main characters that you can play with: Terra, Ventus and Aqua. At the beginning of a new save file, you choose which character you can play with, and every character has their own version of the main campaign. The journeys of the trio take place at the same time, and everything is connected in a neat timeline. In fact, sometimes the trio's journeys will intertwine with each other. One of my favorite moments in this game is when the evil queen from Snow White asks Terra to kill Snow White and to bring her heart to her as proof. However, a heart in the Kingdom Hearts universe means something entirely different, like a soul or something, and Terra acts like a doofus and thinks the evil queen wants that version of a heart. I like it when games are self-aware. Another funny moment in my opinion is when Aqua can sense the darkness of Lady Tremaine and her daughters, so she was planning on straight up killing them, and then the good fairy barely stops her. Man, I love how weird Kingdom Hearts can be sometimes. I'm going to cheat a little bit and also include Kingdom Hearts 0.2, Birth by Sleep, a Fragmentary Passage on number 10 as well. Damn, the title is a mouthful. 0.2 came out 7 years after Birth by Sleep as part of the 2.8 collection, and takes place immediately after the events of Birth by Sleep. And look at that jump in graphics. We've really come a long way since the PSP days, haven't we? In 0.2, Aqua is stuck in the realm of darkness. She quickly finds out that the worlds of Cinderella, Snow White and the Sleeping Beauty are also somehow trapped in the realm of darkness. This game is basically a tech demo for Kingdom Hearts 3, and I absolutely love it. The combat is great, the visuals are great, the dark tone of the game is great as you explore corrupted Disney worlds, and the soundtrack by Yoko Shimomura is godlike as usual. If this was a full-length Kingdom Hearts adventure, I would have probably considered 0.2 as my favorite Kingdom Hearts game, but like I said, it's mostly just a tech demo with only 3 hours of gameplay for the main story. But at least they added some optional objectives that unlock customization options for Aqua, which gives the game some replayability. In 2012, Sony surprised us with a brand new IP for the PlayStation Vita, Gravity Rush. In 2015, a remastered version came out for the PS4, which is how I played the game. In fact, it was my very first PS4 game. And in 2017, we got an amazing sequel with Gravity Rush 2. Gravity Rush was a very pleasant surprise for me, as it was the most original and most unique PlayStation exclusive franchise in a really long time. In fact, every time I play these games, it feels more like I'm playing a Nintendo exclusive instead of a PlayStation exclusive. But that is probably caused by the fact that these games were made by a Japanese studio named Japan Studio. Huh. Straightforward company name, I like it. Gravity Rush is one of the most stylistic games you can find on PlayStation nowadays. Inspired by French comic books, these games have a beautiful art style that I can look at for ages. The thing that makes Gravity Rush so much fun is the ability to change gravity. I mean, the title says it all. Messing around with Cat's shifting abilities is so much fun. I especially really like it when you accidentally make a random NPC fly into oblivion. Using these abilities to explore the world is also so much fun. I can never resist flying to collect some precious gems, so I can use these to level up my abilities even further. Oh, but I hear you wondering, what exactly is the difference between Gravity Rush 1 and 2? Well, Gravity Rush 2 is very similar to the first game, except that there are brand new abilities, brand new locations, much better graphics, way more side quests, and it's just a bigger game in general, like a true sequel. Gravity Rush 1 and 2 are very special games that I really recommend if you love Nintendo games, but you also have a PlayStation. The first game also ends on a cliffhanger, so you kinda have to play both in order to get the full story. And the story and characters are so good. I really hope you will get a third Gravity Rush game someday. Ah, damn it! Okay, I've already talked about this game way too many times on this channel, so I'm going to keep this short. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE came out in 2016 on the Wii U. This is such a fun RPG with so many fun characters, great music and a simple yet satisfying battle system. However, why did I decide to buy this game in the first place back when it came out? Well, at the time, the only modern gaming console for the TV that I owned was the Wii U. The Wii U didn't have that many games, and as a result, there were these long periods of time that the Wii U owners didn't get any new big single player games for many months, which felt like ages. I originally wasn't interested in Tokyo Mirage Sessions. It was a crossover between Fire Emblem and a franchise that I had never heard of before at the time, Shin Megami Tensei. Whenever this game showed up at Nintendo Directs, I would mute the audio because of the cringy music that played during the trailers, and the game just looked very weird in general. But in the summer of 2016, I was so desperate for a brand new single player experience for the Wii U that I took a risk and bought the game anyway. And guess what? I fell in love with this game immediately, including the music that I once thought was cringy, which is now some of my favorite music of all time. This game taught me a very valuable lesson, that you should always stay open to new and strange experiences, because you may actually like them very much. In fact, after playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I ended up playing many amazing games that I was originally not interested in, such as Uncharted, Kingdom Hearts, Detroit Become Human, and many more games. So many games that I was afraid to try out at first, and the Tokyo Mirage Sessions taught me to just take a risk and try out anyway. Last decade was definitely the decade of Super Smash Bros. We got not one, not two, but 3 different Smash games last decade. How wild is that? The hype cycle for these games was so much fun. In 2013, my most wanted realistic first-party Nintendo character was Villager. And look at that, he was the first newcomer. And then they announced the likes of Rosalina, Little Mac, Shulk, Duck Hunt Duo, and even Cloud Strife. And he went above and beyond with Smash Ultimate by adding every single character from every single Smash game. Wow. Just wow. And then they added even more, including Ridley, who was thought to be too big. They even added Banjo freaking Kazooie. Truly a dream come true. They even added characters during this decade, like Pyra and Mitra, and even Mickey Mouse? Oh, I mean Sora! Wait, what? They actually did that? These 3 Smash games have given me so much joy over the years. I spent hundreds upon hundreds of hours trying to master as many characters as possible, finding new mains and getting hyped for new characters. I think there's only one thing left for me to say, and that is, thank you Sakurai. You are an inspiration for many of us, and I think I speak for everyone when I say, please take a vacation! Animal Crossing New Leaf. I was so excited for this game back when it was about to come out. The thing that made this game so special is how different it was to its predecessors. For the first time ever, you are the mayor of your town, instead of this old lunatic. This game also had so many new features. You could decorate your town with public works projects, you can go to a nightclub, you can play mini games, and so much more. When this game came out, I challenged myself to play this game every single day for an entire year, and I succeeded. That's just how much I enjoyed this game. And like with every single mainline Animal Crossing game, I had such a fun and cozy time hanging out with my villagers, decorating my house, and of course hoarding as many items as I possibly can. Good times indeed. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go and bully a villager that wanted to move out of my town for a really long time. They just won't go away for some reason. Get out of my town! In 2019, the long-awaited Kingdom Hearts 3 finally released. This game is the culmination of every previous Kingdom Hearts game, and it's the final game in the Dark Seeker saga. Oh, and don't let the title fool you. Yes, this is Kingdom Hearts 3, but this actually is like the 10th game in the franchise, if I'm correct. Yeah, it's complicated, alright. Just like in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Sora, Donald and Goofy travel through many Disney worlds in order to save their friends and all of the worlds. There aren't as many worlds as in the previous games, sadly enough. However, for a good reason though. The worlds in this game are way longer than any of the previous games, usually lasting up to 2, if not 3 hours, and that is really cool. The reason why Kingdom Hearts 3 is my favorite in the series at the moment is simply because the worlds have way more detail now, and I don't just mean in graphics. The presentation of each world in general is just much better than in previous games. There are residents in Twilight Town now! Kingdom Hearts 2 barely had any NPCs. Messing around with photo mode also never gets old. I definitely have to give a shout out to the Pirates of the Caribbean world for giving us a realistic version of Wind Waker, which is kinda ironic. I just wish Donald Duck would shut up every once in a while instead of constantly shouting that there are ingredients nearby.
This might be a good spot to find some ingredients. This might be a good spot.
In 2015, my favorite Wii U exclusive game was released, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I also think this was my very first open world game, where you can go anywhere you want from the very beginning of the game. I've spent hundreds of hours with this game, and I still am nowhere near close to seeing everything this game has to offer. This game has amazing areas that will blow you away, fun characters, and even though the story took a backseat in this game in favor of open world gameplay, the little bit of story that is here is pretty good and I kinda want more. I also love the fact that this game has no fall damage, and jumping always feels like you're doing some kind of moon jump. I mean, we are stuck on a whole different planet, am I right? Combat is also really great, both outside and inside the skells. What, I haven't mentioned the skells yet? Yeah, these things make exploring and fighting even more fun than it already was. Plus, you can fly anywhere. You can even customize them and give them names. Very fun feature to mess around with. Although, I guess the character creator is even funnier. May I introduce? Scrawny Clown Snatch!
Here! How wonderful! Congrats! Thank you. It's a pleasure. Greetings.
Next up is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And I know what you're thinking, you said no remakes, so why is this game here? Well yes, CTR Nitro Fueled started out as a remake of the original CTR. However, they added so much brand new content to this remake that it no longer feels like a remake. This actually feels like a brand new Crash racing game in my opinion because of this. This game was getting free updates with brand new content every single month for 9 months in a row after release. That was insane! At first, this was just a remake of the original CTR with some extra customization options added, as well as every single character and racetrack from Crash Nitro Kart, which in itself was already really cool. But then they added the Grand Prix. Every month you'll get a brand new racetrack and at least one new character. In most cases we got 3 characters at a time, sometimes even 5. And on top of that, we would also get a crap ton of customization options as well. And the best part was just how much fan service there was for us Crash fans. They added Donna and the trophy girls from the original CTR, BBT, Spyro the Dragon, as well as Hunter and Asti Nord, Nina, Embryo, Pasadena, Rilla freaking Roo, Yoya Panda from a mobile racing game no one played, and they even added fixed Rilla-Roo, which is Rilla-Roo again, but he looks better because his original design sucked and looked like a man in a costume. So the developers listened to the fans and they actually made a fixed version as a separate character. They even added Mario as a guest character. Mario Kart 8! And of course, they saved the best character for last. Say hello to Iron Checkpoint Crate! You can even change him into different crates, with my personal favorite being Purple Exclamation Crate from Crash Bash. Seriously, this game has more brand new characters than it has returning characters. And Coco is no longer the only girl now. There are a ton of playable female characters now. These Grand Prix were so much fun and forced me to play CTR in ways I would have never imagined in order to unlock every single thing this game had to offer. You could even play online for the first time ever, which was also very fun, although a bit wonky at times, leading to some nightmare fuel if you're not careful. Here is my sister playing as Witch Tana, and oh, there she goes flying off again like a true witch indeed. On number 2, I have Persona 5, released in 2016 in Japan and in 2017 the rest of the world. However, there's also Persona 5 Royal, which is the definitive version of this game, and even though Royal came out in 2020 for us, it was released in 2019 in Japan, meaning that I can still mention and show stuff from Royal in this video, because that was still in the last decade. Ha! Take that, suckers! Persona 5 is all about teenagers who don't feel like they belong in society. This is super relatable. I mean, I never felt like I was part of society, and I don't think that is ever going to happen. The world of Persona 5 is also filled to the brim with corrupted adults, just like in real life, and it's up to the Phantom Thieves to change their hearts. With the power of Persona and the meta navigation app, you can explore palaces, which are the corrupted hearts of shitty adults. And in order to change their hearts, which lets them confess their sins, you need to steal their treasure. And when you're not exploring a palace, you're just living a normal school life, which is my favorite part of this game. Taking exams, playing baseball, taking baths, playing games, cleaning up, eating a massive burger, and of course, hanging out with friends to improve your bonds with them and to gain additional benefits. You can even date some of the girls in this game, or multiple of them at once if that's what you're into. But like I said earlier, the characters in this game are super relatable and they all have their issues. This guy has a criminal record because a drunk politician tripped and blamed him. This guy hit his PE teacher because he abused him and the track team while also saying some nasty things about his parents. This girl is a quarter American, which means she looks a little different from other Japanese girls, and because of that, people feel intimidated because everyone is racist. Also, the PE teacher I mentioned earlier was a sexual abuser and really wanted to sleep with her, but because she refused, he abused her best friend, who then the next day tried to commit suicide. Everyone expects this girl to be a perfect student, which is unrealistic. This girl is the most relatable character in the game for me because of her terrible social anxiety. She also got blamed for her mother's suicide by the murderers that caused the suicide. You had to be there to understand. This girl's father just uses her as a tool for business relationships. This guy is nuts.
Piece of shit.
And this girl was feeling insecure about her gymnastics performance because her twin sister was better than her. She ran away, her sister followed her to try and cheer her up, but then got run over by a car and died. She then went to therapy and the counselor used his magical powers to make her think she is her dead sister because apparently it's the only way she can live a happy life. This game is messed up. Persona 5 is dark, funny, ridiculous and over the top all at the same time, and I absolutely love it.
Let's begin the experiment.
On number 1, I have 2 games that are very similar and very different from each other at the same time. Xenoblade Chronicles, which was released in 2010 in Japan, in 2011 in Europe, and in 2012 in the US, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which had a worldwide release in 2017. I love these two games so much. I started with the new 3DS version of the first game in 2015, and it absolutely blew me away. The story, the characters, the environments, and of course the music. It was also amazing and magical. Xenoblade X came out afterwards, and although that game is also amazing like I said earlier in this video, I wanted a new Xenoblade game that felt more similar to the first game. It didn't matter to me whether or not it had the same cast of characters as the first game, or a brand new cast like in most Final Fantasy games. And eventually, I got my wish. The Xenoblade 2 was announced, and when it finally released, it was just as amazing as the first game. There are some big differences between these two games though, but the overall progression of the game is the same. If I really had to choose between these two games, I will definitely go for the first game, but I only prefer the first Xenoblade over 2 by only 0.01%. That is not a lot. I definitely consider these two games as equals that go hand in hand. The combat in Xenoblade 1 is simplistic and easy, which is fun, but I slightly prefer the combat of 2 because it is more thought out and thus more satisfying once you figure out how it all works. The music is great in both games and I think they're equally as good as one another. I slightly prefer the areas of Xenoblade 1 over 2 because for some reason I think those are just a bit more memorable, even if the areas are breathtaking in both games. The characters in both 1 and 2 are also equally good in my opinion. I feel very attached to every single party member across both games.
Get your hands off me! Off me! Off me! Off me! Off me! Off me!
Ah!
Doesn't like it. Ooh, come on.
Yeah! Keep it coming!
The voice acting is also amazing in both games, but it definitely is a bit better in Xenoblade 1 compared to 2. And last but not least, there's the story, which is fantastic in both games. I can't possibly choose a favorite, I just can't. If you consider yourself a die-hard RPG fan and you haven't played these two games yet for some reason, then what the hell are you doing? You're missing out on what I consider the best RPGs of all time. Last decade was truly the decade of Xenoblade Chronicles for me, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
And those are my favorite games of the previous decade. You know, making this video made me really excited for the games that will come out in the future of this current decade. Yeah, the future will probably look very bright. I wanna go!